Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to greet you. This is my first story and it was experienced firsthand. I'm not sure how familiar you are with those toy creatures that many use as good luck charms, the so-called trolls. This story features them as protagonists and I proceed to tell it. This happened approximately 2 years ago in the municipality of Xilotepec, state of Mexico. At that time I was working for a construction company and all the workers stayed in a house that we also used as an office. It turns out that the colleague I shared a room with once brought his doll. When he talked to me about it, he insisted that this creature was his charm, that it had been given to him, and that it had always brought him good luck. It was very strange. He even claimed he talked to it and played with it at night. He always left it food. The first day I saw it, I don't know why, but I felt like throwing it, like disproving my friend and his superstitions, but for some reason I couldn't. Later that same day when we were in the living room, he shouted at me and said, "Follow me. Listen. It's playing." I followed him to the room. It's worth mentioning that it was very dark, and when we arrived I immediately turned on the light. There was nothing. But this troll wasn't in the place where it had been left. The doll was standing next to me, leaning against the door. When I saw it, I once again felt the urge to kick it, but again something stopped me. I wanted to think that my colleague had placed it there on purpose, and I decided not to give it much importance. Later we went to rest. We both stayed in a bunk bed, I on the top and my colleague slept on the bottom. I was already awake, but completely covered by the blankets, trying not to be dazzled by the morning light. The room was empty. Suddenly I felt a slap on the head and by reflex I jumped, trying to catch whoever did it. I thought it was my roommate, but there was no one. The door was closed, and when I turned my head, there it was, that thing next to my pillow. I grabbed it and threw it off the bed. I left the room and returned later, only to find that thing on my bed again, now on the pillow. I tried to ignore it and gave it back to its owner. That night, as we were getting ready to sleep, once again I was the last one to go to bed. Before lying down, I logically checked my bed, lifted my pillow. There was nothing, everything seemed calm, so I decided to lie down. As I mentioned, I was the last one. Everyone else was already asleep. When I settled into sleep, I noticed something strange with my pillow. Without thinking, I reached under it and got a terrible shock. My heart froze. I started to sweat cold. There was the doll. I couldn't find any logical explanation for how it got under the pillow if I was lying on it. I took it and threw it at its owner on the bunk below. I was now sure I wasn't imagining anything. It was the longest night of my life. I couldn't sleep. I could almost hear it talking, moving under the bunk. I told my roommate, who didn't seem to care much. At some point, when I told him I was going to another room, he just said, "No one will defend you there, better stay here, I'll protect you from it." As you can imagine, I didn't sleep a minute that night, and it was the last time I stayed in that place.